These days, turn-based card battlers are far from anything new, and it can be hard to set yourself apart from the ocean of competitors. Even more difficult can be creating a balanced and engaging combat system that feels challenging yet rewarding. When done right though, these types of games can be both fun and exciting to play. At their best, they offer in-depth combat systems that require careful strategy and planning to succeed. Well, if you do happen to enjoy card battlers, then you may be happy to hear that today we will be taking a look at Dead End City Blues, a new turn-based card battler developed by AL-Cubic-Soft and published by Mango Party. Set in a dark and futuristic version of Tokyo, where crime and lawlessness has taken over, a new substance named Elysian has ravaged the streets. Trying to make the most of her life in the slums, a bounty hunter named Kana works odd jobs and gig work to get by. One day, after hunting down some crabs to sell to a local store, she is approached by a hostile man. After swiftly taking him down, she finds some Elysian in his pockets. Fed up with the damage that this substance has done to the city and to its people, Kana decides to track down the source of Elysian and put an end to it once and for all. The story in the game is pretty straightforward, with admittedly few surprises, twists, or turns along the way. Most of the scenes are fairly brief, with unfortunately not much in the way of depth or character development. The writing and dialogue isn't too bad though, and it does do a decent enough job setting up the scenes and providing an interesting world for its characters. As for the gameplay, you will play as Kana and go from location to location, working jobs and battling against several enemies to uncover more information regarding Elysian. Each location in the game is broken up into different hexagon tiles on a map. Each hexagon will contain either a story battle, a side mission challenge battle, random gig work to earn money, or a store where you can purchase additional cards and upgrades. The game is a relatively linear structure, where each story stage must be completed in order, with the occasional branching path of side content. Combat in the game is done through a turn-based card battle system. All controls can be easily done with only the mouse, which does qualify the game as being fully one-hand playable. It's very similar to other games such as Slay the Spire, where you will draw a hand of random cards every turn. Each card has its own energy cost, with a limited amount of energy to spend per turn. You will need to carefully balance both defensive and offensive cards to both protect yourself from damage as well as defeat your enemies. Thankfully, you can always see the next action an enemy will take for their turn, so you can plan ahead to defend or possibly interrupt a powerful attack or ability. You start out with a pretty small amount of cards, but as you win battles, you will earn increasingly powerful cards. Additionally, you can also buy more cards from the store in between battles. Over time, you will build up your deck with stronger and more synergistic cards, making fights easier and easier. There's a good amount of card variety as well, and a bit of strategy involved in choosing synergizing cards that work well together. You can pull off some rather fun card combinations, such as focusing on high damage offensive cards, debuffing or weakening the enemy, or going the more passive route and bulking up on extra defense and energy. While the combat in Dead End City Blues is decently enjoyable, it also doesn't really do anything unique to set itself apart from other card battlers out there. The balancing in the game is also a bit off in that it can be very punishing if you make a few suboptimal choices in the beginning of the game. This is due to the fact that money is slightly difficult to grind, and also that you cannot replay previous easier battles to grind out better cards. If you are able to identify and choose some of the more powerful cards and upgrade items early on, you will likely cruise through the game, but if you miss out, you may end up having to slowly grind out gold, losing to the same enemy over and over again. Aside from just winning battles, you can also earn some extra money though through a few side story sections, where Kana will work a few random gigs. These odd jobs don't have any combat involved, and instead focus on visual novel slice-of-life segments, such as Kana getting a massage at a spa, or working to help a developer test out their new phone app. The scenes here are cute, and provide a more lighthearted break in between the combat and story stages. I would say the only real downside here is just how few levels there are in the game. It's a rather short game overall, and should only take a few hours to fully complete. Your mileage will definitely vary depending on how much you struggle with the early game if you do make a few of those bad suboptimal choices. The final challenge mission can be pretty tough as well, and may take a bit of grinding to get strong enough to beat. The game definitely offers a decent challenge though, and has a bit of replay value as well. If you get a bad ending, you can carry over progress such as cards and upgrades to replay through the game. After a replay or two though, you should be able to easily unlock the true end. Getting a bad end isn't necessarily the worst thing though, as it will allow you to see the real content of this game, the H content. What Dead End City Blues may lack in other areas, I do think that it more than makes up for with its fantastic H content. The majority of the H content in the game is received upon defeat, but there are a few scenes unlocked through the extra side gigs. If you're not a fan of scenes on defeat, then you will probably not enjoy the H content, but if you don't mind, the quality is definitely there. The scenes are fully voice acted and animated, with each scene having a few progressing variants. All scenes are centered around the main character, so enjoyment will likely hinge upon how much you enjoy their character design. Overall, the illustration and artwork of the game does a great job in creating an interesting dark and dystopian world to explore. From a strictly gameplay standpoint, I do think the game falls a bit short. Both the story and gameplay aren't necessarily bad, but also, I do feel it is a bit lacking in creativity, and they fizzle out just as they are starting to get good due to the game's short runtime. Balancing of the early game is also definitely weak here, and is very punishing for suboptimal choices early on. Where the game really shines though, is with its fantastic art and animation, which especially for an H game, is probably the most important point. The game will likely satisfy those who are into card battlers, or those who just want to enjoy some high quality art of its main character, but it may not be enough for those who are looking for a more in-depth story or gameplay. It is a pretty cheap game though, coming at less than $10 on Steam, so I think it is definitely worth checking out if you're interested. With that being said, Mr. Frog awards this game a decent sip. Have you played this game? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. And if you'd like to see more H-game content, make sure to subscribe to the channel. Also, make sure to check out the Mr. Frog stream over on Twitch. Later, noobs.